We are joined today by a very special guest, Shahar Millman, who is the VP of Business Development for Galooli.
Heads in the Cloud with your hosts, David Portnowitz, John Roth, and Frederick Weiss.
Welcome to today's episode of Heads in the Cloud. I'm David Portnowitz.
And I'm Frederick Weiss.
And we are joined today by a very special guest, Shahar Millman, who is the VP of Business Development for Galooli. Shahar, welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. And Shahar, I understand you're in Toronto. Is it still freezing cold up there?
Well, yes, I'm in Toronto. You won't believe it, but today it's about, I think it's just above zero. So it's about 5 degrees Celsius. Finally, we had just over the weekend, I was skiing. It was -10. And hopefully this Wednesday, Thursday, we're going up to about 15 degrees Celsius. So it's actually very exciting.
Wow. We could do some skiing here too, Fred, but it would be like water skiing because I think it's about 80 degrees here today.
Yeah, it's warm.
So Shahar, tell us a little bit about yourself and Galooli. Give our listeners a sense of who Galooli is and what you guys do.
Oh, sure. Galooli is it's a leading innovator of remote management industrial IoT. We are basically, what we do is we connect assets worldwide to an AI-powered SaaS solutions, and by that we help our customers increase their operational savings, the efficiencies, and the revenues. So we provide Galooli, we provide the customers with the ability to manage all type of the different remote assets through one smart integrated platform.
Break that down for for the non-IT people. What does that mean? What kind of assets are they managing? How does it actually, give us a practical example?
Yeah, sure. I can give you a couple. Well, the different assets that we are actually connecting, so we're operating in different verticals, right? So we're operating in the site management, site solutions. If we want to take that into a practical example, we could take a site of a tower company, for example, a cellular site. And this site usually has generators, rectifiers, battery backup for the power storage solution. So the site could be either a hybrid site, or off-grid site. And we are connecting RTUs either to the rectifier. We have some units that are connected to the generators and the batteries as well. And by that, we monitor the data from the site and deliver to the end users, either connected to the NOC of the company, or bring the information to the customers.
So you've got some sort of sensors or little IoT devices that you're putting in on these pieces of equipment, and you're monitoring and managing them, and sort of delivering that data back to the customer so that they can monitor that site remotely. And I'm guessing that you put those things on trucks and pieces of heavy machinery as well.
Yeah, that's right. So those units basically connect either to. It depends to which vertical, right? So if we're talking about the site telecommunication, as I mentioned previously, these is actually an RTU unit that connects to, for example, for a rectifier that connects all the data from the site, transforms that to our platform, and the end user is basically using our platform to monitor all that. If we're talking about the fleet management solution as well, which Galooli also does, we remotely manage the connected fleet vehicles, forklifts, EVs, to monitor the data. And this information basically, again, transmits to the cloud, to our platform, and that's what the end user or the customer uses. Same goes for battery management, which we also do, and generator management as well, for fuel consumption reduction, active control, and solar AI, for example.
Also things like reducing your carbon footprint, right?
Yeah.
Of course, carbon footprint is one of major issues that raises up more and more often. And a lot of companies, and especially public companies, place sustainability as a major focus. Most of them have the environmental and social governance groups which deal with it. And clients use the platform to demonstrate energy efficiencies. So basically a lot of improvements leading to carbon credits. So once the customers are actually definitely seeking to show proof of carbon reduction, and more earnings are being directed from the environmental credits in public companies. So this is absolutely the right way that we're going in the energy sustainability for customers.
But I would imagine it also provides maybe customers with like a different way to provides new sort of pricing or revenue generation streams for customers if they can use the data coming off of the machines or whatever. They can charge different ways. They can monetize their equipment in different ways. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely true. Once the data is approachable and you're able to collect the data from the assets which are on the field, it gives you a lot of opportunities to, first of all, manage the operation in a much better way and understanding, because you have a visibility of the collected data. You also have predictive analytics that you can actually work with and create a much better prediction of the sites and the assets on basically increase their longer service of life, to extend the warranty, to reduce the carbon footprint. There's less failure, of course, and higher uptime. And of course, the cost reduction as well. The personas which are responsible for a business unit, P&L, or where the operational savings and the efficiency and revenues matter to them, these are the right personas, that this could lead to a lot of added value to them and to the organization, as well as technical personals interested in upgrading their assets to a state-of-the-art solutions.
Do you mind if we talk about a real-world example of what that would look like?
Sure. To give you an example of, we do thousands of sites that we monitor for tower companies worldwide. We operate in Africa and Latin, US and Europe. And I think one example of that could be, fuel consumption reduction. So we worked with a client specifically on reducing the fuel consumption in their sites. So we did a 5,000 sites where we monitored them, and we did a full site monitoring specifically for the fuel reduction. And we ended up actually by monitoring, all the fuel, giving them all the data, the information from the fuel levels in each site. We were able to actually decrease basically the cost of the fuel in millions of dollars. I can talk about around $27 million of fuel that were actually saved to a company when we monitored this amount of site. Of course, it does not come from one specific site, and one specific operation. It has to be integrated into a lot of different sites, but the system itself and the software that we're providing with the monitoring are actually able to bring the customers the ability to understand where the sensors are more sensitive, where there's a problem in one of the sites that has to be fixed. And this is a huge amount of dollars. And of course, we talked about the carbon footprint previously. That, of course, translates to carbon credits. So once a company is able to show a fuel reduction, that, of course, could translate to the carbon credits footprint that could be used as well.
And what, I'm guessing, you're very popular within like manufacturing or construction and, engineering. What are some typical customers look like for you? What is that typical vertical or typical customer look like?
The customers will be, for the site management solutions, it will be more tower companies, the large one like ATC, Crown Castle, SBA, so on. MNOs, all the MNOs could be relevant for this type of application. We do colocation metering as well for the tower malfunctioning, air conditioning, etc. Turf vendors, all the providers for the site solution and the services for the sites. If we talk about the battery monitoring solution, so we haven't talked really about our battery product, but we do have a patent product for battery management solutions. So
What kind of
basically,
batteries are we talking about? Like AAA's? You can monitor, I got some kids' toys you can help monitor for me. You
yeah,
can tell
so
me
no,
when I
we're
can
talking about more industrial, right? So the industrial batteries. So I will not monitor the AAA or the AA batteries.
So
But
nothing
we're
with
talking
Duracell,
about
guys.
so we're talking about the industrial one. It's a larger batteries. It's lead acid, lithium-ion batteries. We're collaborating with the leading OEMs. We have agreement with them, so we actually patent the product. And this product is basically, if we take, for example, lead acid battery, which is so-called, it's not sophisticated battery. There's nothing in there in regards to IoT. We are able, once we connect our unit, to monitor the voltage, the temperature of the battery, and basically do analytics and predictive analytics for the battery, the end of life of the battery, and basically give the customers the ability to make that battery more sophisticated and to monitor that. On top of that, we also have a GPS solution for that, so you can track and trace the battery if it's being stolen. Apparently, this is a very big market, that the batteries are actually being stolen and delivered either to the gray market or to recycling.
Like you said before, when David was talking about like the AA batteries, these are really expensive batteries. And of course, if we think about this on a larger scale with a larger company, how many they have, and somebody stealing X amount of these, do you have any stories or scenarios of somebody actually stealing somebody's batteries and then having a recovery?
Oh yeah, we have quite a lot of them, and you're right. Those batteries,
I bet.
we have quite a lot. And you're right. Those batteries are being stolen. They're not. They're costly. Of course, you have the new batteries, the lithium-ion batteries, which are starting to replace the lead acid slowly, but still, great percentage of the market is lead acid. But if I need to think of one scenario or a theft that happened. I could relate to one funny one that we had back in Africa, where this one of our clients was actually, we had the alerts of the batteries, the theft of the batteries, and of course we automatically contacted the clients. We talked with them, and it's important to understand that most of the battery theft are actually we're able to prevent them because we have a vibration sensor. So once somebody goes to the cabinet and moves it and try to steal the battery, there's already an alarm. So a lot of those theft are being actually prevented previously, but there are still about 10 to 15% of the batteries which are actually being stolen because you're not able to get to the site in the right timing. So this client actually had the battery stolen. We saw it exactly on the GPS and the map where it goes. We saw all the route. Apparently, they contacted the police authorities in their town. Once they wanted to go to the house, they realized this was the sheriff's house of the town.
No way.
So they had to escalate that to the regional authorities, and it took a couple of days. So we were all waiting, to see what's happening. It took a couple of days. They escalated that to the regional authorities. Eventually, they took action. They busted the sheriff. Sure enough, they found around 100 different batteries. So this are big batteries. This is a backup storage batteries, lead acid batteries that were all found there. This customer actually, we're doing the monitoring also for the vehicles, and we actually have the movie of you can see the vehicle tracking back to the house, picking up the batteries, returning all the batteries. This was an exciting and funny story.
Well, I'm sure, and also a great use case for your product to say, "Hey, look, here's exactly what we're sort of preventing it and showing the real value there of what you guys do." I mean, that's one of those scenarios that you don't want to see, but then also you can use from a case study perspective, I guess.
Did the sheriff sign over his rights for the video testimonial of how he got caught?
So it's absolutely, but usually the customers, we're very aware of the customer privacy, and not all of it you can always take out, but the stories are there, and there's a lot of those stories of returning assets, and it's also a word to mouth, from one company to another. We get a lot of calls. We heard from that company or the other tower company that the batteries were stolen and the return, and this is how we build the reputation. So I think it's good. It's a good storytelling, and there's a lot of actual actual insight from customers, to learn from.
Absolutely. What was the effect of obviously we're still going through COVID. What did that do to your business from last year? Did that more people, I guess, were interested in probably remote management because they're working from home? I mean, tell us a little bit about how COVID affected your business.
Oh yeah, COVID. Yeah, definitely. I think reflected the past year dramatically, especially I think it's first of all, it dismissed the question of the relevancy of whether or not remote management is needed. I don't think this question is anymore on the table. More and more companies are actually realizing that this is a must. Okay, so everything is basically moving into in that direction. So, and the industrial IoT market is skyrocketing. It's expected to reach at around $740 billion by 2025.
Wow.
And luckily, we were two separate companies. So Galooli, back in 2019, we had two different separate companies. One was the Galooli Automotive for the automotive solutions, and the other was the Galooli Power, so all the site management, the power efficiencies. And what we did is we merged it at just the beginning of 2020, before the COVID even started. We merged it into one company, and luckily, sure enough, the fleet, all the rental leasing came to a complete halt in March. So everything basically stopped. And luckily, we had, the full site energy efficiency concentration. With that being said, the telecom was on exactly the other way. The demand for energy efficiency and remote monitoring kept on growing until today. It keeps on growing. And happily, we ended 2020 with approximately 35% growth over versus 2019, which is surely something that we're very happy about, especially in those harsh time and difficult times of the COVID.
Yeah, I mean, I think we obviously with the we had similar kind of thing going on in our space too, telecom and UCAS, and everyone sort of working from home. Everyone was moving to the cloud as fast as they could. So that was something that we saw as well. And I assume you guys are going to continue to see it because I think, people are going to be, there's been a lot of talk about this and just people aren't going to be as quick to move back to the office. And I think, the remote management will obviously increase dramatically. I think too, on the consumer side, something I was going to ask you is obviously you're selling more to the businesses, but is there a demand on the consumer side? Is that something you guys have seen just to monitor, assets that maybe they have a house, someplace else, or vehicles, or, just something where on the more consumer facing side, I don't know if that's something you guys have seen at all.
Yeah, we're actually getting some requirements from the consumer side. It could be for, private electric scooters that they're trying to monitor and GPS solutions. Also, the smart homes, which are definitely going to take a big jump in the upcoming years. We're dealing more on the B2B, on the business side. So we do a lot of energy storage solutions, the green energy, so solar and wind energy. Yeah. Anything that has to do with the telecom sites, data centers. Those are the main verticals or the markets that we're dealing with. But the consumers there are some requirements coming from the consumers.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, I know that, for example, like Tile, like the little things, like those little monitoring things that you hook onto your suitcase or, your keys. I mean, those kinds of things are, it's not exactly what you guys do, but I think there's definitely a demand. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I think most of those changes, what I believe will happen is that we'll see more and more, the smart homes that will definitely change drastically. Yeah. Even the energy. I remember hearing once that they're talking about that you'll be able to control your own energy in the house based on batteries, the solar panels if you'll have on the house, and eventually we'll be able, to use that energy or power to source with others or use it as a credit notes or buy with it sort of this will definitely take a big change. I think it will be totally different for my kids, when they grow up.
Yeah, it's fascinating where we might go with that. Shahar, yeah, I wanted to ask you a question. This is pretty obvious to me, and I already know the answer to this. But for the people that don't know, what does Galooli actually mean? Where does that come from? Interesting name for a company.
Yeah.
Again, I already know the answer, but go ahead.
That's good. So, yeah, Galooli is actually the meaning of to reveal. Galooli is a Hebrew word. The translation to that is to reveal, basically to bring to one attention the unknown data or the info. So if I want to take that to let's say iceberg metaphor. So when you see an iceberg, you see only like 10 to 20% of the iceberg, which is above the water, right?
Right.
But there's almost like 80% beneath the water of the iceberg. So we compare that to the data that we're actually extracting from the asset. So only small amount of the data is being actually used by the end client. And what we're trying to do, with the analytics and the AI, is to basically take all the data that we're able to collect and give the end user, to our clients, the most best added value that we're able to give him based on the analytics and the remote asset management that we do.
Yeah, that makes total sense. That's a great name. What's the future of Glooly look like? Where do you see the greatest expansion opportunities over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think definitely we'll expand in the energy efficiency for sure. This market was the site management. This is, as I mentioned, this is going really expanding itself. I think that if we're talking about the units that we're using, we just launched a unit, an RTU unit for Galooli, which is very sophisticated one. And this unit basically connects to, it's called the Alara. And this is, it collects and transmits all the telemetry data from the site. It's characterized by an outstanding agnostic capacity, connects to a wide range of devices and power sources, easily installed. And the greatest thing about it is, I think, it's the cut-through technology. So basically, the ability to integrate into the end asset. So basically, either to the rectifier or to the batteries, the generators, that the OEMs is able to configure those units through our RTU unit. So I think we're definitely going to see more and more application into that market and expand in this direction. Galooli's for surely will expand into the North American market in much fascinating way, and we're definitely growing in those directions. So mostly into the energy efficiency. And if we started as a fuel management company, we're definitely going into the energy and shift ourselves to battery management and backup power solution and energy efficiency.
And where could people find more information out about Galooli and what you guys are doing and how you guys, if they're interested in using your services?
Oh, sure. You can log in basically to galooli.com. So it's GALOOLI.com. That's our website. You can find there, it provides all the full coverage of our products. You can find all the services and products in the website, all the press releases, videos, and of course, learn about the great state-of-the-art new green RTU that we have.
That's awesome. I mean, I really think that the use cases for your product are just going to increase 3, 4, 5, 10-fold over the next few years as people are, wanting to work and live where they want and being able to monitor and manage those things and not have to be on site and not have to fly there all the things we've talked about. I just think that there's more and more, there's going to be more and more use cases for those kinds of situations as the next few years unfurl. So very, very cool technology. Shahar, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time. Stay warm. We hope that you get a little warm spell this week so that you can not have to bundle up. And thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you both for the interview. It was great being with you, and we'll keep warm.
Yes, thanks again. And so for today's episode of Heads in the Cloud, I'm David Portnowitz,
and I'm Frederick Weiss,
and we will see you next time.
Thanks all.